Have you ever been ready to give up on your business because it feels like you're doing so much work, but not seeing so much fruit? As one busyness owner put it, you're being overworked and underpaid for all your time. On today's CEO Pause, I'm going to share three ahas a client recently had based on the seven laws of the harvest I taught on from Galatians 6. And these three ahas changed everything about how she approached her time and her business growth. Welcome to CEO Pause, where as Christ-empowered operators of our business, we don't pursue productivity and profitability by picking up the pace, but by slowing down the busyness to be present to what God has entrusted to us. I'm Lissa, time management coach for Christian women busyness owners, and I combine biblical truth, with time stewardship tools to help you make time your most valuable business asset. Recently, I received a text from a CEO impact client who was ready to give up because it felt like she was working really hard and had a lot of passion for what she does, but her business was still really small, and she just wasn't sure if it was worth it. She'd been working till 10 p.m. most nights, trying to get to working on her business instead of just working in it. Can you relate? She'd been binging other people's content, trying to find the answers to growth, but instead of being inspired, just felt overwhelmed. She'd been wanting to put together a bigger workshop event for a while and was frustrated she didn't have time to do all the things she needed to make it successful. She felt like every time she got excited about something, the enemy was right there throwing stuff at her to derail her, and she was too tired to fight. She said, quote, "Honestly, I'm just ready to give up." Can you relate? No matter what level of business we're in, I think we all sometimes have that "is this worth it" moment. So we exchanged a few voice texts back and forth, and I sent her a training I did about exponential growth based on the seven laws of the harvest from Galatians 6. And the next morning, I got another text from her, but this time I could already feel the shift. Let me read it to you. She said, "Thanks for sharing. I just need to narrow down the specific seeds I need to be planting in the time I have. The results will still be multiplied. I'll just multiply my little garden, in my little corner garden," she said. I responded and said, "Yes, the laws of the harvest work no matter the size of the field, because it's about his multiplication." To which she replied, "My strategies have been focused on acres and not gardens, and I'm just not at that stage of life yet. I have to stop comparing to what the farmer next door is doing and focus on my garden." Wow. Now she's really thinking like a CEO. Did you notice that her three ahas changed everything about her perspective on her business growth, even though nothing had grown overnight? Sow the seeds I have, trust God to multiply, and tend my little garden. So let me dive into each one of those for you. Number one, sow the seeds I have. We have all been entrusted with seeds, ideas, dreams, skills, passion, time, and those seeds hold the potential for abundant growth. But if they stay in our hands or buried under busyness, what's inside is never going to see the light of day. Jesus said in John 12:24, "Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds and bears much fruit." He was talking about his death and resurrection for the forgiveness of sin. And the same is true of the process of sowing. To sow literally means to plant in the ground and start the growth process. Law of the harvest number one says you reap what you sow. You see, it's conditional. If you don't sow the seeds God entrusted to you, you'll never reap the growth. That's why she said, "I need to focus on the seeds I have." And you do too if you want to see the growth. Aha number two, trust God to multiply. Once that seed goes in the ground, the farmer is entirely dependent on God. Yes, God provided the seed in the first place, and by faith, the farmer puts it in the ground where it looks like nothing is happening. But once the farmer does his part of sowing, now he must let God bring the rain, the warmth, the sun, the growth. His part is to actively wait, removing any weeds or vermin that would distract the growth. James 5:7-8 uses this example for being patient when things are not as you would like. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it until it receives the early and late rains? You also be patient, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. You see, law of the harvest number three says that you reap in a different season than you sow, which means there's a time of waiting when it looks like nothing is happening. Everything is happening. And law of the harvest number six says we reap what we sow if we do not give up. My friend, it will come in his due time. But law of the harvest number 4 says we reap more than we sow. This is the multiplication part because no farmer would be in business if they got a 1-for-1 on their work, right? If they sow one seed and reap one ear of corn or one stalk of wheat or one soybean pod. No, a farmer knows when that seed goes in the ground, it multiplies every time because that's how God created the process. And it doesn't matter if the farmer sows one seed or 100 seeds or a million seeds. That's why she said the results will still be multiplied. And you need to believe that too if you want to see growth. And then aha number 3, tend the field you've been given. Not only has God entrusted seeds to you, He's also called you to specific fields, those places where He's placed you in both life and business. The problem is, we keep comparing by looking around at the fields next door or down the road. Did you know farmers have to literally get in their truck, roll their window down, and drive slowly past the fields they wish they had? And they do, because I had a farmer's wife in the podcast, Jennifer Lee Dukes, author of Growing Slow, who said that's exactly what they do. But here's the problem. Unless they're just out for a Sunday afternoon drive, that sizing up of someone else's field is only a waste of time because it actually doesn't do anything about the field that you own, the one that you are responsible for, and it will never change anything. Proverbs 14:30 says, "A peaceful heart leads to a healthy body, but jealousy is like cancer in the bones." You see, spending time scrolling past someone else's business, especially if it leads to jealousy for what they have, or dreaming of what you wish you had, or even neglecting of what you do have, is only a waste of time. I don't know if you noticed, but I've had 2 really big business owners on the Redeem Her Time podcast recently. One who's built a portfolio of 6 businesses worth over $100 million, and the other who's built a successful 7-figure and growing online business. I was certainly impressed with their business skills, but more importantly, that they're both doing it with Christ at the center. And I could have wasted a lot of time comparing the size of my business at Redeem Her Time to theirs. But I knew it wouldn't lead to any growth if I looked at the field that, unless I look at the field that God has entrusted to me with Redeem Her Time in 2025 as less than. Because law of the harvest number 7 says, you reap what you sow in this year. So while I may be tempted to dream about the growth that God has in the years to come, whether that's to 7 and 8 figures or not, my focus needs to be on investing in the field I've been called to in this season, not the field someone else is called to, or the one that I want to have one day. That's why she said, I just need to focus on tending my little corner garden. And you need to focus on the field He's called you to in this season if you want to grow. So if you want to grow, you got to think like a strategic farmer and leverage the 7 laws of the harvest and partner with God in the process. God supplies the seed. You sow the seed. God brings the growth, and you reap the harvest and then sow more. He is the one who can bring the 30, 60, or 100-fold harvest. But it all starts with sowing the seeds He's already entrusted to you in the field that He's already called you to. So, do you want access to the 7 laws of the harvest guide that changed everything for this client? Go to redeemhertime.com/100 and let's start leveraging the 7 laws of the harvest with God.